Welcome back. In this video we're going to start attaching the coils onto our base for our coil form assignment. Okay, so getting started, we left off here where I said you should have about 3 or 4 nice coils rolled out that are all pretty even and the same size. You should have your fettling knife, your wear board, your banding wheel, and as you use that banding wheel, don't forget you pick it up with 2 hands because this base has a tendency to fall off sometimes. Okay, so make sure you've got all your tools set out. You should have some fresh slip and your needle tool. Now getting started, here's my base on my banding wheel so I can turn it as I go. I'm going to start scoring, and notice as I score, I can turn the banding wheel with my left hand, and that way I can kind of keep a nice even rhythm with my right hand as I score over the top. It makes it kind of easy, goes a lot quicker. Then you can use your fettling knife or a finger to put the slip on. In the video, I'm using one of my paint brushes because I know that I'm going to wash it out, but you know, I have a tendency that kids don't wash their brushes out if they use them for slip. They just kind of shove them back in. If you can wash your brush out, you are more than welcome to use that as well. It kind of speeds the process up and keeps your hands clean. Now, that's my base that's nicely slipped and scored. Now I'm going to take this whole coil, which is a little bit on the long side, and I'm going to slip and score it. It's outside of the film, or outside of the frame. So I'm just going to slip and score the whole thing. Remember, anytime that you do anything in ceramics, slip and score. Now you could make smaller coils that are just like the exact right size for whatever you're making or for the circumference of your pot. I tend to like to make one big long coil and then wrap it around snake-like and hold it on that way. So what I like to do is I take this whole coil, I slip and score the one edge of it, I hold it with my left hand, and then with my right hand, I gently pinch as I turn the banding wheel. And when I get to the end here, I just go right over the top of the next piece. Now you're thinking to yourself, but Mr. Lundgren, you just told us to score and slip all the time. Well, this clay is exactly the same clay as this one that I'm already using. So technically these pieces are exactly the same moisture level already. And as long as you take those 2 pieces and you make sure to smear them together on the inside really well, you can kind of get away with just one edge being slipped and scored. Now, this only works if you're using the same coil on the same day at the same time. If I leave this sit out now for like 20 minutes and I start using a different coil, obviously I have to slip and score that. Now that I'm done with that coil and I move on to a different coil, I need to slip and score that new coil. Okay, so that whole not slipping and scoring each part of it only works when you use the same coil at the same time. Okay, now that I've got my coil coiled in there, I'm going to take my thumb and I'm just going to get it a little bit wet with some slip. And I'm going to hold my hand on the outside here and I'm going to press down with my thumb and smooth those coils together on the inside. Notice as I'm smoothing them down, I'm turning the banding wheel so I get a kind of nice even flow to my smoothing. And I've got those coils all smooth together on the inside. Now, if you want to get a little bit more smooth, you can smooth the outside. Okay? Or if you want to leave those coils on the outside because you like how they look, that's fine too. Okay, now what you would do is, to continue this pot moving upwards, you're going to take your coils and keep coiling them around. If you want your pot to go straight up, you're going to stack your coils straight on top of each other. If you want your coils to start bending out, you're going to have to stack them kind of on the side of each other, and like that. If you want the coil pot to bend in, you're going to have to kind of stack them on the inside of each other. Okay, so depending on how you stack your coils, you can get the walls to move out, you can have them stay straight up, or you can have them curve slightly in. All right? So depending on how you stack those coils, you can make your walls bend in or come out and then stay straight. All right, now you could also, like I showed you in the video, or sorry, not in the video, in the slideshow presentation, you can take your coils, and if you slip and score, you can make a variety of different shapes. I mean, the styles you could do with this are kind of infinite. I could show you a bunch of them, and you could look up a bunch of them on the internet. But if you take your coils and you start rolling them together, you can make the little swirly shapes that then you can attach onto the walls of your coil pot. You can make, you know, if you take another one and you slip and score it together, you can curl one edge this way and the other edge this way and make little S-like shapes. Okay, and you can get really creative with this. There's a ton of different things you can do with coils. And then if you make them all the same, you can like have one of the swirls meet up with one of the S's and then another swirl shape and then another S, and you could make a pattern that way. Or if you don't like this idea, you can just stick with the straight coils and do most of the designing with your tape resist design at the end. Okay, so right now, that is how you can finish doing your first steps of coils. In the next demonstration, we'll come back and we'll talk about finishing the edges and making sure that your coil pot is nice and even and smooth all the way around the outside, as well as smooth and even on the inside. Thanks for joining me for how to coil and make the beginning of your coil form in Ceramics 1.